Welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's time for some serious questions. And I will start with the first one. That should be an easy one for Shmuela, which basically uh, uh, people are asking where could they find the links to some of the resources that you were sharing in the session.
Um, well, I posted them in the chat and on YouTube, but they don't appear as links. Where is a good place to post them? Twitter, maybe?
Twitter, right?
Yeah. All right.
Twitter for sure.
I'm gonna put them on Twitter now. I have
Okay.
them ready in my
Then,
list here.
then Mati, you should definitely follow Shmuela, any of it, and Wassim as well. And you should be able to get all the links and resources that are needed. Quite a lot of speakers actually share their slides too. So yeah, if anyone asks for that, like just follow these people and you get the resources. Okay, I've got another question coming up from, I'm gonna mess up the name, but names are difficult. Abderram Hamila. So besides the official docs, so that's basically for Santosh. Besides the official docs, can you recommend other sources that I could use to learn about schematics?
Ah, okay. What you can do is the repository which I have mentioned in my slides. You can refer them. They are really great. Basically, I started from NGRX. So, and in back in 2019, I think NGRX was full of schematics. They were creating it. So I became part of it and I started writing it. So the best way to learn is just write it, and you have the references. A lot of libraries actually have schematics support.
Can I share my tip?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
I was using the Angular material repo to learn about schematics. Yeah,
that's also a great place to.
Yeah, and actually, when I was learning about schematics, like I was using the sources from Manfred Steyer. He's got actually like a 3 or 4 really in-depth blog posts that start from basic to pretty advanced stuff, and that was super helpful. So yeah, reading code is one of them, but you should definitely check Manfred Steyer blogs because I think pretty much each of us in this panel went through those blog posts. Okay, I've got another question, and that's basically open to all of you in here. So Terry's asking, can you give advice on how to start contributing to open source? Who wants to go first?
I think Wassim should go first.
I'm laughing because I get the question a lot on Twitter. I mean, the easiest way to start contribution is just to start. Just like pick up any projects, any documentation, anything, and create an issue and a PR, and just do it. Of course, maybe the first time this is gonna be probably bad experience, but don't be afraid. That's okay. This is I mean, expected. This is how you learn as well. But just start easy. I mean, you can like I started like fixing documentations and fixing tests for Angular. You don't need to start like with the adding a core feature to Angular or React or wherever. I mean, that's difficult to do from the start. Just start easy. If you find a typo in some docs, open an issue, send a PR. I mean, the maintainers are really happy to have these contributions as well. So don't stress, just do it. That would be my advice. And also, yeah, pick a project that you know really well. So if you're working on a project like your company or on like for work, and using, I know you're probably using a CLI or a framework that you like. So you know that framework really well because you're using it every day. So you know maybe all the issues that it has. You probably already find out about some of the issues. So go create an issue, tell the maintainer that there is a problem. Can you help? And they would really be glad to guide you into your first contribution. Well, that's what I do on my project, at least. So maybe Santosh or Shmuela can add more advice.
Yeah.
What do you think, Shmuela and Santosh?
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit because it looks like a big deal, and sometimes oh my God, what am I doing here? And do I really want to submit this pull request? Or do I want to help here? So start with something small. for example, a typo in the docs, because that's also really, really, really helpful. Now, every repository has the guidelines for how to contribute. They have the guidelines for how to, and even a template, how to submit a pull request, how to do a commit, how to write the description of the commit. So make sure you read those. And usually it's not a big deal. And yeah, start contributing.
Excellent. Santosh, you have anything to add? You're like top 100, right?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is the motivation. What's the motivation behind you starting the open source contribution, right? So if you are already motivated, you have a target that I really want to achieve it, then I think it makes it easier. You will do anything to achieve that. That's what I did. When I started in 2019, my target was to reach anyhow in top 100 contributors in 3 months. And that was my motivation, right? So I worked really hard. I worked day, night, and then I did it. So this is the motivation thing, I think.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So all great advice. So if you want to start contributing open source, you have no excuses. It can be done. Okay, off to the next question. So this one is for Wassim. Is Bazel production ready today? And does it make sense to move all projects to Bazel, or is this just for large projects?
That's a really great question, and I had one on Twitter right now. I was answering the person, so I'll give it live. So yeah, Bazel is production ready. I mean, Google has been using Bazel internally for over a decade, and other companies, as I mentioned in my slide, are using it. And that's a few companies I know about that are using Bazel. Is Bazel good for any project? The answer is no. So if your app is already building super fast and if it's small, I don't think you should add Bazel. For instance, the Catsify app I showed off earlier, so the UI is written in Angular and the backend is more complicated. So I didn't use Bazel for Angular because I'm using Angular v9 preview, which is built super fast for my case. So adding Bazel over there would be just overkill for my case. However, on the backend side, as you saw, it was taking 10 minutes to build the REST, the Azure function, the TypeScript, everything, and reduce this to 3 minutes. So in this case, Bazel plus Bazel Remote Cache was really helpful for me.
Nice. Okay, so next question, that's from Eugene. Wassim, what is the running cut at your top panel?
What is what?
Apparently you had some running cut at the top of your panel. Do you have a cat at home? Somebody
that's the bed of my cat. It's a suspended bed on the wall.
Excellent. I mean, I've seen some of the things that you built for your cat on Twitter. Like, guys and ladies, like, if you want to see Wassim's cat, check him on Twitter, that's for sure. Another question, I'm not sure who to direct it at to, but that's from Alexander. Is there a schematic for Angular Bazel configuration? Does anybody know?
I can take this one. So
sure.
So there used to be a schematic for Angular CLI to build Angular. However, I mean, I just should be really careful how I'm going to say this. So for now, the Bazel configuration and the Bazel setup and all the logic is hosted on the Angular project currently, because when we started, Angular was the main. I mean, one of the first projects to adopt Bazel. However, today, I mean, the Bazel story has evolved, and now Bazel for the JavaScript community is made available for everyone, not only Angular. That's what I'm trying to say. So because of this, the Angular team is moving all the basic Bazel setup from Angular to the Node.js rules project under the Bazel organization. Because again, now Bazel is targeting the whole JavaScript ecosystem and not only Angular. So that's why, because that's a question I got last week for like two people. There is a PR open on Angular right now where they're deprecating all the Bazel stuff. So that doesn't mean that Angular is dropping support for Bazel. Just moving the configuration outside of Angular.
Cool.
That's my
So
understanding.
yeah, it's a pretty good answer. So I got a question for Shmuela here. So in terms of like, because there's a question I saw on Twitter. So what would be like your top three tips in terms of using Azure Cloud Functions inside Angular project? Are there any best practices, things we should avoid, or things we should definitely be doing at the beginning?
Wow. It's pretty new, so no real best practices yet, but my tips will be make sure you do a production build, and if you can, then also build your application as statically as you can. So for example, using Scali.io. So really build as many assets as you can to be ready as HTMLs and CSS assets that can be just sent to the client. Another tip. Well, I didn't. I think I didn't mention it, but adding login with different authorization providers, such as Twitter, Google, Azure, of course, and what others do we have? Facebook and GitHub. It's as easy as putting a link. So add this, but my tip is, that's in the docs, and my tip is to add Cosmos DB, which also has a free tier, and manage your users there and connect them with functions. So you have the functions for your static web application, and they will send a request to the functions of the Cosmos DB. And then you can easily manage your users. You can save them and get them and add the data. Third tip, well, I think it's very important to have the latest Angular release. So version 9, I tried it with StackBlitz, and in StackBlitz, it's still on the RC version for some reason, and I had to update all the Angular libraries to make it work. So yeah, it's also a general great tip, just update your Angular applications to the latest versions. It's really easy. The CLI update command does it for you, and there aren't many breaking changes, if at all. So please keep up to date.
Excellent. Great, absolutely great advice. And I would also add, like, always read the documentation. It's like pretty much with anything you start. Okay, so that's it for our panel.
Read the documentation or contribute to the documentation.
Yes,
yeah.
Do both. Do both.
I actually,
yes.
I must mention that Wassim here has contributed a lot. I think even wrote by himself some of the documentation and also added a lot of demos. So he's also done a big job, a great job, and a lot of what I showed and used is actually based on what Wassim has been doing. Oh. And yeah, and like we said, it's still in preview, and also for products that are already released and official, there are still always some improvements that you can do. And you can submit PRs to the docs also.
Excellent. So thank you very much for your time. This was really useful, both your talks and your answers in the panel.